Hey, Shane.
Yes, Vince?
Have you ever seen Malignant?
No.
We have to start the episode. And now we watched it.
Yeah, Malignant.
Fucking, this movie's perplexing.
Yeah.
It throws people for a loop. I remember
Yeah.
I was in a producing class when it came out, and so part of that class was structured. I went to film school just in case. Yeah, I did. It's totally worthless. So the producing class was structured, and we got a script, and we had to like pitch it for financials, and so we did do all this research and put together this whole presentation. Really interesting, fun assignment. Yeah. And the script was just like a script that she knew what somebody had or was making the rounds that she had access to, something like that. So it was like a Dracula Western farcical comedy kind of thing.
Oh, that's fun.
Super campy, super interesting. And so a big part of that class when we got the script and we had all read it, she's like, "What do you think of the script?" And we were like, it's interesting because it's hard to pitch this one for financials because they don't make movies like this anymore.
Yeah. They don't make them like they used to.
And it came out right when Malignant came out. They're very different, but they're both camp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it was an interesting thing where like Malignant is camp, and that class was divided on Malignant.
I don't think there's any camping in the movie.
There's a lot of time in an attic.
I mean, fair.
Yeah, so anyway, this movie, and I've shown one other person, I mentioned this on an earlier episode, one other person, Malignant, and they did not gel with it that much. They were like, this is fine.
I think in our usual way to peel back like what I knew about this movie beforehand is I don't remember the trailers or seeing any of the trailers at all. I have no memory whatsoever of this movie coming out. What I do remember is people talking about it after the fact about how insane it is. Yeah. And like it piqued my interest, and then I knew you really, really liked it. And like the more and more I thought about it, and the more and more I learned, like, look, I don't know anything about it outside of the fact that like James Wan directed it.
Yeah. I knew
it's weird and crazy.
What I knew going in was literally I had seen a snippet of the trailer at some point. Don't remember it, but I remembered the shot in it where it's like panning around the world's kind of melting. Yeah. I had seen that little shot. Yeah. And then I knew James Wan made it, and I was like, well, I like James Wan. I like spooky stuff. I'm not doing anything on this Wednesday afternoon.
You know what else super sold it for me? The posters. The posters.
Oh, posters are great. And I had
good.
seen the poster for like great poster.
The posters are so good, and I was like, what is this movie? It looks dope as shit.
Well, literally before seeing it, you could not guess what this movie is. Like
I just realized something. This is the first horror James Wan movie I've ever seen.
What's the other James Wan movie you've seen?
I've seen Furious 7.
Yeah.
And Aquaman. I have not seen any of his horror movies. This is the first one.
You've seen literally the only two not horror movies he's made, other than maybe like his first feature or something.
No.
Like his like first
Oh,
one
is
before Saw. Like his kind of break-in one. I think. I actually should look up the timeline on that, but
there is a movie before that, but it looked like a horror to me. But I don't
because I know he did two like super indies before horror or before that. Let me look it up.
Keep talking.
I have his IMDb.
He's already got it up.
No.
Let's see if I can beat him to it.
Oh shit! I'm scrolling slow. James Wan. All filmography, director. Yes. So he made. Oh shit! No, he made two shorts.
Yeah. There's a Saw.
One of them is the short. The other one is also a short. He made Saw, Dead Silence, Death Sentence, Doggy Heaven, Insidious, Conjuring, Insidious 2, Furious 7, Conjuring 2. He directed some of the MacGyver episodes, and then he's done Aquaman and Malignant since then.
Is Death Sentence an action movie?
I have no idea. I honestly had not heard of it until now.
Action, thriller, drama, crime. Okay, well there you go.
Yeah. So you've seen, that's fascinating. This is your first one because like
this is the first horror James Wan movie
based on his other movies, and then seeing this. Do you see the director in there?
100%.
Yeah, right. He's like one of those guys that's just like This is a James Wan
The
picture.
first James Wan movie I ever saw was Aquaman.
Yeah.
And like, look, there's that movie.
Aquaman's dialed up to 11.
It's dialed up to 45.
Yeah.
Like,
in the best way, don't get me wrong. Like, I like Aquaman.
Sometimes I actually, sometimes it's 45, sometimes it's 9. You know what I mean? Like, where it's like the action scene with the first like big action set piece with like what's her name in that movie?
His mom?
Yeah, his mom.
Kate. No, not Kate. Fuck.
His mommy Poseidon.
Nicole
Kidman pulls out the others to pull it out. Man, I super want to watch that. Megan was watching that the other day. Yeah, she watched that the other day.
Good fucking movie.
Yeah,
really cool movie.
I came in like at a couple random points.
Yeah. It's super not what you think it is in the best way.
Yeah.
The Others is a cool one.
Yeah,
it's one of the best ghost stories ever, I think.
Yeah.
Good one.
I want to watch that one because everything I saw I was like, this is weird as shit. Anyways, off topic. The fight with Nicole Kidman with like the guards coming in
and the cameras doing these big sweeping moves.
Shit.
Yeah.
Like through Italy or whatever,
that little town. Yeah.
With
Black Manta.
I want to say Man Ray, but I knew that was wrong.
No, I'm writing a comic book about a guy named Man Ray.
Hey, there you go. So like, I loved that about that movie is how like wild the camera work
transitions
was.
are insane,
crazy. Like that movie is so much fun. It's like not good, but it's great. You know what I mean? Like,
it's one of those ones that if you are not going in for what it is, you will hate it. It's not going to win you over. You know what I mean? Unless you're willing
James
to.
Wan? Is that just James Wan? I don't think like the
because
every movie I've seen of his is that's Furious 7.
That's,
now I've only seen 3. At this
I'll
point.
give Furious 7 a little more credit in that it is part of a franchise, so it's different. Yeah. Aquaman is also part of a franchise, but the DCU stuff is so weird. It kind of I don't know. But Furious 7, I think by the end, even has people who weren't fans of it into it.
Fair.
That one,
fair.
But I don't know. Insidious, I don't think so. Saw is also pretty different, but it's also got way more of like a specific kind of edge than a lot of his movies do.
Interesting.
The first Saw is good. Like the first Saw is a pretty good movie. It's mostly just a clever little crime thriller that has a little bit of torture in it, but very little, surprisingly, for what that franchise became.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. Because I think a lot of his movies are like horror, like The Conjuring. I think most people just like The Conjuring. Like,
yeah. So there isn't too much of like a specific flavor that you have to like get on board for.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Okay. I do think in his recent work, yes. Yeah. Like between Malignant and the Aquaman movies, like I think recently he's been playing in that kind of insane world.
Yeah. And it's like, look, and there's some insanity in Furious 7.
Oh,
like, there's some crazy, why, and like, but not to the same, like, no, obviously,
no, it's existing within its world more so than like Malignant is, which can just be fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so like this is literally my first James Wan horror, and I think it's a fun because I think it very much fits in the canon that I've seen in terms of like how he moves the camera, like how like he is such a like visual stylist in that way, and this movie does not disappoint.
No, not at all. It seeing it in a theater is a really weird experience. Yeah. Just because I was alone, so I didn't have anyone to go, what the fuck is going on? I was just kind of in it. So I didn't like love it the first time. And then I was like,
which is crazy to me.
Oh, I loved it by the end. Like I was into it, but like I left it and was like, that was so weird.
Yeah.
And then my class was so divided on whether or not they liked it. And it was a fascinating thing. But then I showed somebody and he was like, this is fine. And I was like, this movie rules.
I legit, I don't know how you could not watch that. But look, if it's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. Yeah. But if you walk out of that movie not going just like, wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in the best way. Yeah. Wow.
I think I was like polarized by it more than I had a strong opinion on it, because I was just like, that was a whirl. I feel like I walked out. Have you seen that episode of Drake and Josh where they want to get on the roller coaster?
Probably. I don't remember it.
There's an episode where they want to get on a roller coaster. It's crazy. And then when they're watching people the whole episode get off and they're like, what?
Yeah.
They're like fucking shell shocked, and then they come off and they're shell shocked. I felt like that walking out of that movie where I was like, it's still bright out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
I mean, Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I bet this would be a wonderful movie to go see at Alamo now.
Oh yeah, it
Now
has
that
such a cult following.
Now that it has the following that it does, like in a group setting where everyone either has seen it and loves it, or they're bringing their friend who hasn't seen it yet so they can experience it.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that would make that experience better, because like, man, seeing this on the big screen would be wild.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Which there are a whole class of movies that are fun to sit there and go,
Yeah.
You know,
The
which
amount
is
of
the
times
point
I
of this
just turned
podcast.
to him and I was just like, this rules.
Yeah.
This movie rules. Or I just openly laughed.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you want to cover next?
I don't know.
Because I'll just be like talking about it.
I just want to say I'm glad we're doing The Conjuring next then to get to Wan, because he's like the prolific horror director of our time in a lot of ways.
I think he has is a generation defining.
Yeah.
He is this generation of horror. He's
responsible for the Conjuring universe, which fucking created an entire decade of a type of horror.
Yeah. I mean, like Saw, Insidious, The Conjuring.
Literally, he's launched multiple horror franchises at this point, and Malignant should have been one. I don't know how you do that, but it should have done it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't exactly know what to cover. Let's just jump into the movie, because I'm spoiler alert starting now. Like, just don't watch go watch this movie. Don't look anything up.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, that is, I think, an important key, because like I didn't know anything about this movie other than the fact that it's a James Wan movie and it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that's what I knew. I'm glad I like knew what I was setting myself up for from that perspective.
Yeah.
Of like, what was it was Speed Racer, where you were just like, just
let it be.
And it's not Speed Racer level, but it's not too far off.
I think the thing I said before this one is I was like, it's intentional.
Yeah.
Because there are some scenes in it where you're like, why did he do it like that? Yeah. Like, why did the act, you know what I mean? Where it's like, they're not performing bad or anything. It's just, it feels so of a different time, some of these scenes.
Yeah.
Like, specifically the one where she's like, I'm adopted. And then it holds on her for like 4 beats too long. And you're like, but it's all so intentional. And that's the thing I said. I was like, don't judge it. Like, it's doing what it's doing.
Yeah. Okay. If I were to make a comparison, and this is going to be real weird, but go with me here. It's like taking a video game from like the late 90s or like early 2000s, and the only thing you updated was the visuals. You brought the visuals to, like, you know, like to AAA, like famously the Silent Hill 2 just got, there was a Silent Hill 2 that just came out. And so like there's some like healthy criticism about the game being like, look, it looks phenomenal, but they didn't really update any of the things that like the way the to control the game, like the script is the same, and that is exactly how I feel about this movie, but in the best way, where it was like it took everything about a wild horror slasher movie from like the early 80s and changed nothing about it except for like the visuals and brought them into the 2020s.
I think I described it. Malignant is essentially if an A-list director made a B movie.
Yes.
Where they just gave him the money to do insane things with a script that is just like bonkers.
Yeah.
You know, like a script that would never get made or get made so cheaply that it didn't quite have the money to work. They just gave him one of those and he went, fuck yeah, and did it. I love that.
Yeah.
And I can't stress this enough. He made $2 billion movies. I believe the only director to have a $1 billion movie in 2 separate franchises.
Yeah.
I believe. He cashed that in on Malignant.
Yeah.
A $40 million insane film.
Yeah.
The biggest props, the most respect.
Yeah.
Like, I love that this was his one.
Yeah.
Because you see a lot
this was his blank check.
Yeah.
Like,
you see a lot of directors use their blank check on these giant movies.
Yeah.
I like that he went, nah, $40 million is cool.
Or that, like, it's also just fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody cash in, like, a passion project for something, like, smaller or something like that.
But
it's just how crazy it is.
Yeah.
And also, like, it is so schlocky
Yes.
and campy and weird. And that's the one he was like, nah, like this is mine. Like,
well, and I'm amazed. I'm shocked. You guessed the twist.
Yeah.
I didn't. When I watched it, I went, "What the fuck is happening?" Like, incredible.
Yeah, literally like halfway through that, maybe a little bit more.
I think we were ramping up into figuring it out.
Yeah.
And you went, "This is what's going on."
Yeah. I think I'm bad about getting ahead of movies.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm bad about that. I shouldn't do that, but I definitely do it.
It happens to me, but I think the thing I'm good at when I watch movies is I'm a very experiential watcher. Yeah. Like I very much try to just like buckle myself in the seatbelt and let it go. Yeah. Like I don't try to like think, oh, this is what it's doing and this is what I try to do that after.
Yeah.
But there have been a lot of movies where I was like, this is exactly the My Hero movie recently. Yeah. They set up a guy's power. In a villain's power, and I was like, this is how Deku's gonna beat him later. Yeah. Like I was like, you're setting this up and I know this is gonna happen. Yeah. Still fucking rules. Doesn't hurt the movie to figure that out. But anyway.
Oh, right. And did not hurt my enjoyment of the film at all because it's still fucking insane.
Yes. I think Gabriel, we've said spoiler alert, her as Gabriel with the jacket, one of the hardest fits in all of horror. It's fucking awesome. Yeah. The way they move and the body, like how broken it all feels because it's in reverse. Yeah. Like sick as shit.
Yeah, it was like there's a couple of moments like that where it's like, why is this thing running backwards? Only running backwards. And then it leaves all the breadcrumbs and I just picked them all up and figured it out. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like I don't think clearly it didn't make it like super, super obvious. But then at the same time, like, I don't know, I just picked them all up and figured it out, you know?
Yeah, and you're wondering, like, because you see snippets of Gabriel right in that opening sequence, and you're like, oh, is it whatever they did to him that fucked him up? And that's why his body's all like, because the running is backwards, but the arms move weird, because like they show that he like dislocates her arms and pulls them around. So they're not normal by any means, but they're much more like his like little arm. It's interesting. It's the way... How'd they fucking block a fight scene where an actor completely has to do it essentially backwards?
Yeah.
Like,
and that choreography of switching clearly between switching actors who are working backwards and then some that are working forwards.
Yeah, but making their hands move. Yeah, all of that is some of the that is the thing the movie does not get the credit for. I think is how good the choreography is.
So good.
I want James Wan to make a fucking John Wick movie.
Yeah.
Like that dude should go make one of the John Wick spinoffs.
Yeah.
Because he would do it so well and it would be so inventive. Yeah. And I mean, clearly he's not afraid to do hyperviolence. Like, God, that last fight is so violent. And we were talking about this right before we started recording, but that's why the movie gets compared to The Matrix is because it's a guy in a leather coat who's like seeing the fucking code. Yeah. And some of the brain simulation stuff.
Yeah.
I think I'm in your camp where I don't quite see it, but I do know what people are saying.
Yeah,
like I'm like I get it.
It's like and where where like she finally like figures it out and
puts him in the prison and
from that only do I see and then like whatever leather, but like everything else I'm like, nah man, this is freaking Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah. This is like and
spooky dooky mind traps and dreaming worlds and
it's like there's literally a scene. It's when they're running through the Seattle underground. Where I'm like, they're literally in the freaking thing in Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like it feels like an homage.
Oh yeah,
because it definitely is.
Oh like, fucking Nightmare on Elm Street's one of the most famous movies. Yeah. It's one of those ones that I think transcends just into film iconography. Yeah. Like Freddy is just a piece of film iconography. Yeah. Everyone sees the glove and they're like, I know exactly what that's from. Everybody.
Yes.
And so definitely James Wan is inspired by that.
100%.
I think anyone who does anything dream related in a movie watches A Nightmare on Elm Street just to see what it, which trust me, I know you weren't as in love with that one, but it's the one to watch. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, like, and I just
not to say you didn't like it or anything, but it was not your favorite of last year's crop.
Yeah, yeah. What was my favorite?
I think Texas Chainsaw probably.
Texas Chainsaw fucking
yeah, because you showed me
Psycho.
I showed you Texas Chainsaw, Elm Street, and the Blair Witch movies.
Oh God, Blair Witch.
Blair Witch is great.
Blair Witch was. I don't know why that movie stuck with me as and affected me as much. Anyways,
it's a great movie.
But yeah, like I think the thing that I appreciate about this movie is like it doesn't hold anything back. Even the things that like don't work are so intentional.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like the writing and the performances being like a little funky and weird.
Stilted or playing a little high.
Yeah,
like
it works so well for me. Like it's just so like perfectly like high camp in the best way. Without it being like I'm good because like camp is such like
such a broad term.
Such a broad term and so hotly debated. But like one thing that I think that like the reason this movie is actually camp is it like it's so sincere about it. It isn't making fun of this kind of movie in this genre.
It believes it wholeheartedly.
Everything it's doing, it's like, no, I am doing the most sincere.
Yeah, it is not a satire of these type of movies.
Not at
It's
all.
not a send up of these type of movies. It's an appreciation piece.
Yeah,
like,
it is the 2024 remake of a movie from the 80s.
Of like 2 or 3 different versions of this movie you've seen before,
Yeah.
cobbled together to make something crazy.
To make the wildest shit of all time.
Dude, the weapon,
Yeah.
the trophy, like
Badass.
like genuinely that I think in 10 years is going to be it's going to be up there with the glove. It's going to be up there with the kitchen knife and Michael Myers or not Michael Jason's hatchet. Like it's going to be one of the horror weapons.
Yeah.
I want one.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's such an inventive way for the weapon to happen because it's like fucking Friday the 13th. He picks up a machete and it just becomes iconic.
Yeah.
Halloween, he grabs a kitchen knife, becomes iconic.
Yeah.
This one feels intentional in a way that even like the glove doesn't, because the glove he just kind of has.
Yeah.
Not to say it's not intentional, it's like a weapon.
Yeah.
But this one, there's a scene where he's like smashing the trophy and grinding it into a weapon, creating hand grooves for it. Like, I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, the first time we see him use it, it's like thrown at her head.
Don't even think about it.
Yeah.
I love how Gabriel Ty. It's such a cool thing to do.
Through the
yes, which is a great misdirect, by the way. Like the electricity manipulation. You're like, what is this thing? Very cool. I'm super into that.
The other thing that I think is absolutely wild about this movie is the fact that the most famous person you'd recognize is McKenna Grace.
Yeah,
is like the child actress McKenna Grace.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's so good. I love
again,
that.
also has to be intentional. Like,
what
it's
a
gotta
wonderful
be.
choice.
Yeah.
Like all these people are like working actors. Like you may recognize them from something.
Yeah, like the person that played their mom, she's from Arrow. She does a lot of TV.
Yeah.
You know, she's like a person that you've seen before.
I have seen her in a couple of things.
Yeah.
But like she is literally, her and McKenna Grace are like quite literally the only two people I even remotely recognize.
And McKenna Grace is in all of like 7 minutes of it. Like
she's in the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Like and shout out McKenna Grace.
I'm so excited to see what she does as she gets older and older. A McKenna Grace movie that's really good. Gifted.
Yeah.
I went and saw that in a theater and just sobbed. My family was fostering someone at the time. For short term, very short term, but it was a kid, and it was one of those things where I was just like, like it was so hard. And she's also great in that movie. Chris Evans is really good.
Yeah.
It's one of those fun ones where you see Chris Evans like, oh shit, you can really do the fucking work. Not to say he's not good in his action shit.
No,
but
like,
he picks projects that I never expect him to pick, and that's one of the cool ones that he did.
I love that.
Anyway, yeah, good McKenna Grace movie.
Yeah. But like everyone else are just like total, again, just working actors that you wouldn't really recognize. And like the freaking lead actress that what's her name? Do you know her name?
I have the IMDb pulled up.
I'll let you pull it up. Holy God, she's so good.
Yeah.
She is so good in this.
Amber Wallace.
Yeah.
Let's see if I've seen her in anything else.
Like I think of all of the people she has.
Oh,
like,
shit. She's the co-ed that Charles flirts with in X-Men First Class.
Yeah, but like that's the one place that you would like recognize.
Yeah, it's that, and then she's in the new Mummy, the Tom Cruise movie, and she's in Annabelle. So she's like been in stuff. She is not a that guy by any means. I've seen her in a couple movies actually, some weird ones I've watched.
But like, yeah, her title in X-Men First Class is co-ed,
and she also they change up her look so much.
Yeah,
like just for like fucking, I'll see if I can get it. That's what she looks like in life.
Yeah. Blonde. Yeah. And like, yeah.
She just looks different.
Yeah.
The bangs go a long way. Like they
sure.
change her up a lot. Fascinating. But yeah, she's really good.
Yeah.
She commits, like that end monologue could be so bad.
Yeah.
It could fall flat on its face. And she just commits to it. And
Everyone does.
Yeah.
Everyone commits fully to the bit, the wild
yeah.
bit.
I love the main cop's partner. She's like, motive. Eats her little lollipop.
So good. Again, fucking camp, man. It's like this movie's funny and intentionally so. And, you know what I mean? Like even when it's like not supposed to be funny and you're laughing, that's intentional.
Yeah. Well,
like,
and it also knows when to reveal a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes you feel like a movie either holds on to it too long where it's like, now I don't feel like we're exploring this idea, or gives it too early where you're like, I didn't really care.
yeah.
When the fucking mom falls through the ceiling, it's like the last thing you think is going to happen in that moment. You're like, oh, she's going to get out and then it's going to some kind of something.
Crashing through the ceiling. Is
You think the reveal is going to be entirely different.
Yeah.
And then having her, did you guess that it was her attic? Mm-hmm. But you didn't fucking think she was going to fall through that fucking ceiling.
Did not think she was going to fall through that ceiling. That was crazy. But okay.
The reason I did not pick up on the attic is what fucking house has the spinning wheel of death in it? Where I was like,
the thing that I like guessed that pretty early in my head, and then I saw I saw the fan, like, and then I was like, oh, when we cut back, I'll see the exterior of the house and see if there's a fan, and there wasn't. So it's like clearly on the back side. So I was like, oh, maybe that isn't, but I was like, I bet it is though.
hey man, more power to you.
That was one of the things that like helped me guess the Professor Quirrell.
Still, when she falls through the roof and the scene just like it does the music and pushing, you're like,
crazy.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, like no, it still rules. Like again, like that's just me getting ahead of it more than it is like being obvious.
Well, and then the other big thing I'll tell you, how did you described it a certain way? You knew when something was going to go crazy because
in Spencer has described this to me of like in anime, you can tell that like a fight scene is about to happen when the animation gets really good out of nowhere.
And then in reverse of that, you can tell when whenever animation at the first half of an episode, you're like, this is worse. Oh shit. Something's coming.
Yeah. And so that is this movie to a T, where out of nowhere the camera work starts to get really weird and crazy. You're like, oh no, this is what he spent time on. Like he spent time on this one.
Well, it's so intentional and weird, and like like Smile. We were talking about how intentional that camera's. Some of these, like the one where she's running up the stairs and it's like. Like
top down,
but in like such a weird, like the John Wick top down is like just so steady, and this one like moves funny.
Yeah,
I love it. It's awesome. It's so that it's a fucking rad movie, dude. Its look is so bathed in light and fog. Oh my god! And like when they cut to that exterior, that first exterior of the house with that push-in, you were literally like, whew. Like, it just looked great.
Yeah. I mean, the opening shot of freaking Arkham Asylum on the side of a freaking cliff overhanging the ocean.
I love when a movie does that, where you're like, where the fuck would this be?
Yeah.
Come on, why not? Give it to me. I love it. I want to watch a movie that takes place in there. Like,
the random moment, but the moment where her sister is like, I think at Arkham Asylum, and she's going through the files and stuff, and you can hear stuff behind her, and then it just cuts to her back at her mom's house.
Yeah, totally fine.
Such a good cut. Yeah. Like,
oh well, you want to talk about the scariest moment in that movie? Anyone who's like a fucking fan of this will understand what I'm about to say. It's when she parks at the cliff. We're like, what human being parks that close to a cliff? She literally like rolls in. Like there's this heart skip that I did the first time I watched it. I was like, stop. Oh god.
She just parks like an inch away from the cliff.
The cliff face. Like it is a drop, dude.
So good.
It is like, it's brilliant, right? Where it's like the dumbest. That is him going.
That was something that made them laugh.
Because you know it's CGI. You know she's driving up to nothing, and they were probably like, okay, we'll extend it out and she'll park. We'll put a statue there or something. And he's like, no.
Cliff,
sheer drop off, and they're like, why? And he went, you'll see when you watch it.
It's like, well, you'll hear it in the theater.
It is so fun. That is to Rosemary's Baby, a movie made by no one. That's the moment from that movie where like the person is standing in the doorway like half cut off, and so the audience like lean to try to. It's a movie, you can't do that. It's one of those moments where he's just playing to fuck with you. Like And I think James Wan does that a couple to other places in his filmography, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Other stuff you want to talk about before we get to the box office, which is something I want to get into? Did you look up the box office by any chance?
No, I don't.
Okay, cool.
I know literally nothing about it. This movie rules, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you have a particular favorite kill off the top of your head? Anything where you're like, whoa, the most? I mean, a lot of them happened very quickly in the end, so I wouldn't,
Yeah, I mean, just that big fight in the cop. In
the chair.
The station. The chair.
The chair's maybe the coolest
so
thing from a movie that
good.
year. Like, genuinely, I can't.
Yeah, it's so good.
The chair's one of those things burned in my head.
Yeah, I mean, just that entire fight scene.
Yeah,
that entire scene in there is just like absolutely insane.
The camera work never feels too much or annoying. Like it verges.
It's crazy.
It verges on like digital camera almost. Like it gets because some of it feels very floaty and like. So
but
it's definitely a bunch of spliced together shots, but they're not doing any of these like crazy impossible under someone's legs.
That
and
is very James Wan. Though.
Yeah,
like that kind of sweeping, floaty camera.
He does it a lot in Aquaman.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But he's like good at it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel fake.
And everything feels so visible and trackable. Like you know what I mean. Like the crazy part about that fight is. You know exactly where the exit is. Yeah. You know exactly where all the other cops are coming from. It's like you're never like, where are these people? Why are they trying to go?
Been in that room like 4 times. Already.
Exactly. Like, and so he just establishes the location and films it mostly from this side over here, so you know. Yeah. And then when he cuts around, he's really sweeping or sweeps across and establishes new setups. He's fundamental filmmaking added with a crazy camera work.
Same thing with the fight in the cage is not the right
Undercity.
Yeah, or no.
The cell. Yeah,
the cell. In like we know exactly where everyone is. Yep. We know exactly where the exit is. We know exactly. You know what I mean? Like, because we've already been in that room for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so like we already know where everyone is and where everyone's heading.
And it's so fucking inventive the way that character fights. Like even past the body movement stuff, like it just tells a lot about the character, how brutal they are. Like using the person as a shield and then breaking the people, like breaking arms specific. It's like such a specific.
Shoving their hand all the way through.
Yes.
Wild.
Oh, fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah.
This movie fucks. This movie fucks.
Yeah.
It turns into an action movie for a little bit, and sometimes that doesn't work, and it just absolutely sails here. Yeah. Like it's just so good. Oh man, I love this movie.
Yeah. Movie rules. Movie fucks.
Sometimes movie just rules.
Sometimes movies just rule.
Okay, so box office talk. What do you think the budget was? Like, if you just had to take the wildest guess in the world.
You did say 40 million earlier.
Then it's 40, yeah.
And that sounds right-ish.
What do you think it made worldwide?
Truly, no idea.
Do you think it... Well, okay.
If I were to just put a random number, worldwide, 100 million.
34.
Wild.
It didn't even make its budget back.
Damn.
That is one of those things that makes me mad. Where it's like, dude, this movie is so good. What, like in every way that like Smile opened good.
Yeah.
Made its budget back.
Yeah.
Like opening weekends, which means it was very likely to profit. And then blew up second weekend.
Yeah.
Why didn't that happen to Malignant?
I'd be fascinated to know when it came out and what was around it.
I can. Oh, what was around it? I can't tell you, but I can tell you. Opening weekend was September 12th, 2021. So theaters were in a bad place.
Yeah,
but they were in full swing, open again.
Yeah.
So yeah, like people were going again. Like, there were successes around the time, but not a ton. Yeah. Like it was a weird time still. I mean,
maybe it was the fact that literally there's no one recognizable in it at all. Like,
and it doesn't help that like. It's weird. You know what I mean? It's not the most marketable thing in the world, but the marketing, I remember marketed it very much as the first half of the movie, not the second half of the movie. I don't know, man. I don't know why more horror fans wouldn't come out for this one, because it's so weird in a really fun, cool way. Now, mind you, it has had a cult following sense. Like you post about this, you're gonna find some freaks who are like, I fucking love that movie. Yeah. And it feels like one of those where you're putting down like an indie movie that no one ever talks about. But it's like, it's Malignant. It's made by James Wan. We know this movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, it breaks my heart when movies like this that are that weird and take this level of a chance.
Yeah.
And are mid-budget. That's the other thing. I was talking to Breck about that, because Smile 2, we found out, has a budget of $11 million more. In comparison, Joker 2 is like a 150 to $200 million movie. Joker 1 was $75 million.
Jesus Christ.
Joker 1 was a mid-budget movie and is one of the most profitable R-rated film of all time because it made $1 billion.
Yeah.
On nothing, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Along with Deadpool being that profitable.
Whoa.
Why the fuck? Why would Joker do that?
Crazy. That's insane.
Versus Parker Finn going, because I guarantee they offered him $1 million.
Yeah.
I guarantee, or at least 75. I guarantee it. And he went, I think we can do it lower.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't think we need. And to me, more directors need to do that. Don't set your sequel up to fail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, look, who knows how Smile 2 is going to perform? I think it's going to do quite well.
Yeah.
Will it do as well? I don't know. The word of mouth on it is far better than the first one because people are just like, this movie's actually. I went and saw it last night. This movie's actually fucking good. Breck was trembling after the movie was over. Like, that's not a joke. Like, she was shaking. It was so scary. Fucking wild ass movie.
Yeah.
But who knows how it's gonna do? I don't know.
Yeah.
Why didn't that happen to this one?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's just too weird.
Yeah, maybe it's just too weird.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it's like, look, it's campy, but it's not that weird in the grand scheme of things. You know what I mean? Like it's not. I don't know. It's like it's stuff you've seen before.
Yeah.
Like everything in it is stuff you've seen. It's got some crazy. It's just like it's a hodgepodge of different like ideas and different inspirations and things that make it like a fun camp gore fest. But I'm like, people love that shit. Horror fans love that shit. I don't understand why this would not perform to that level. I mean, I guess like the time period. And I would be very, very interested to see what the slate was around that time because it might have just been like packed around with like other stuff that didn't come out in 2020. Got pushed. And so maybe I think that would be an interesting thing to see where it just like came out at the exact wrong moment.
Yeah. And it did a little bit based on pandemic stuff, but it also theaters were in swing. I mean, there were like I said, there were movies doing
by
well.
2021, late 2021, like theaters were open again.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a weird moment, came out at a weird time, but definitely, I wonder if that one had same day stuff with Max.
Yeah, that would not surprise me. Especially at that time. Yeah.
At the very least, it was like 30 days.
That might have hurt it.
Like that definitely hurt it.
Yeah.
In one way or another. But anyway, I just it breaks my heart that like I love when a mid-budget movie just does gangbusters because it's like I want more of these.
Yeah.
Mid-budget movies need to come back, and that's the thing that's gonna really help movies in general.
If you weren't staking $250 million in every single movie you make.
Like Spielberg talked about that years ago. He's like, look, you're going to get these tentpole movies and 5 or 6 are going to fail pretty close to one another. And it's going to bankrupt studios.
Yeah.
Like just one after another. And that is starting to happen.
I mean, look at Lionsgate. Have you seen the Lionsgate? They've lost $650 million this year.
Oh my God.
Not a single one of their movies that have come out this year for Lionsgate has made more than $50 million. Now, they've put out some fucking stinkers.
Yeah. Did they do Crow? Was that one of theirs?
They did Crow. Yeah. They did Megalopolis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's not me talking about the quality of either of those movies. Those are just flops. Like they're just flops.
They just bombed and so, incredibly hard.
Yeah. And so Lionsgate has not put out a single movie that's made more than $50 million, and they've lost $650 million this year. $650 million.
Rough. I mean, Warner's not in a great place either. Post Flash, Flash ended up being one of the most expensive movies ever.
Flat.
Yeah. Well, I found out why too. It's because they had to film in London because of pandemic restrictions, and they couldn't find a town that looked right, and so they just built a town and then destroyed it. And then they couldn't find sets that looked right, so they just built them and then destroyed them. Then had to do so many reshoots and like shit like that. That's why it was so expensive. They just built so much stuff for that movie.
Crazy.
It's like, dude, really? Like for The Flash. It takes place in a fictional city. Can it not look a little British? Like what do you mean?
For The Flash.
For The Flash.
Okay.
A movie that I have like moral issues with.
Oh yeah.
Like, look, I try not to be too negative. I have moral issues with what some of the things The Flash did. Like it that transcends quality of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Anyway, that being said, box office is always an enigma. I never understand it.
Truly.
Whatever. But Malignant's great.
Malignant rules.
Like actually a fucking just kind of great movie.
Yeah. Any lessons?
Oh, lessons.
Commit.
I commit is a good one. I think a big one for me is be like Wan when it comes to cashing in your blank check.
Yeah.
Take a chance, man.
Yeah.
Like, just look, you're James Wan. You were set for life, if for nothing else, as a producer.
Yeah.
You are a name that can just get something made. I'm sure you're raking in the right stuff of all the Conjuring stuff that's still coming out. The Annabelle doll merchandising alone, you have to be making a little bit, like quite a bit from. You are set for life.
Yeah.
You get a blank check like this, dude, do something weird.
Yeah.
Like make the fucking movie as a kid you were like playing with action figures.
Yeah.
Make it up in your head.
Yeah,
like
that is such a good
do that. Like so often I feel like these blank check movies are like set up to fail.
Yeah.
Because they get all the toys in the world. And like, look, this failed. But it was a $40 million failure. Like the studio's not gonna be that pissed about that. Like make your movie. But be fucking wild about it. I don't know. That's made my like, I commend him for that.
Yeah.
I commend him for throwing his name on stuff and making money everywhere else so he can do these kind of weird things.
He can make the weirdest movie of all time.
Which is kind of what Clooney did. Clooney knew he wanted to just work.
Yeah.
So he works for rate.
Yeah.
That being said, he's like almost a billionaire because he has all these other companies and businesses. And so he's like, that's where I make all my money so I can just do cool shit whenever I want.
Yeah.
Be like that, man.
And a fucking satellite.
Yeah. So random.
You gotta love it.
Anyway, B segment.
B segment.
This
is a game we've done before. I'm gonna give you some reviews from movies. Okay. These are all James Wan projects.
Fun.
Or all stuff that he's directed.
Okay. There's a couple I haven't seen, so this will be interesting.
I doubt. I think there might be only one thing on here that you haven't seen. I think everything else you've seen.
Yeah.
I would venture a guess. Here we go. So for each one, I have 2 reviews. If you don't know it after the first review, I'll give you the second review. The filmmakers try desperately to concoct a puzzle with a grand design, but there's none to be found. Just a lot of flashbacks and puzzle pieces that don't form a full picture.
Saw?
Very good guess. Very good guess.
Grand plan.
Yeah. The second one was, while the torture porn moniker is more appropriate for the sequels that follow, this is a nasty piece of work with a compelling mystery at its center and an ending to die for.
Yep.
Here is the second movie, the first review for the second movie. A horror movie that is as long as it is underwhelming.
Oh, shit. Is it The Conjuring 2?
Nope.
Oh, fuck. Oh, no, I won't. Is it Dead Silence?
Nope.
Okay, then what's the second review?
It's hard to say whether a film this bonkers works or not, but it's impossible not to admire both the craft and the extravagant bad taste behind its go-for-broke energy.
Is it Malignant?
It's Malignant.
Fuck that first one, man.
Underwhelming.
Boring. Take, bro. Like,
again, if it's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. But underwhelming.
Calling that one underwhelming is actually crazy.
Not how I would describe it. Director James Wan delivers effective scares, showing more interest in a sinewy camera moves and building a slow creep than in mindless gore. But the performances are a mixed bag, and the script repeatedly seeks refuge in the familiar. There's one section of this that legitimately surprised me when I read it.
Insidious?
No.
Insidious 2?
No.
It's not The Conjuring.
It's The Conjuring. The freaking... Okay, but the performances are a mixed bag? Look, I haven't seen the movie, but that feels crazy to me.
I would love to know who they're talking about.
Director James... This is the second review. I'm just going to read it. Director James Wan, best known for creating the Saw franchise, delivers his finest work to date. Instead of relying on the graphic slasher-style techniques that made Saw a hit, Wan turns out an old-fashioned suspense, and the payoff is big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an appropriate take.
Yeah. Here's the next movie. The movie doesn't hold together as well as the previous chapter, but that's really a function of expanding the cast still further.
Insidious 2.
Nope.
The Conjuring 2?
Nope.
Did he do another sequel?
Yes.
Oh, is it Furious 7?
It's Furious
Fuck, damn it.
7. The next review for Furious 7 is what transpires is grimmer than what's come before, and without a sense of fun, the absurdity of the action becomes less enjoyable. insane.
Insane take.
Insane
That
take.
movie's very fun.
Some of these reviews, guys, Rotten Tomatoes is not a good place to go for reviews. It's a good place for me to find reviews for this game, but it is not a good place to go for reviews. Rotten Tomatoes sucks. Sorry, Rotten Tomatoes.
Not sorry.
Here's the next one. While the third act descends into silliness, for the most part, this is a superbly crafted and genuinely scary flick that borrows brilliantly from horror classics.
That one's got to be Conjuring 2.
Nope.
Is it Insidious?
It is Insidious. Have you gotten every single one on the first one? Just about?
I needed one on the second.
Yeah.
I guess I know what they're saying, but I like the third act of Insidious.
Wan and Winnell have done wonders with a tiny budget, and horror fans will enjoy being scared. But it's a shame that this film doesn't finish nearly as well as it starts. That's the second review.
Oh, I was like,
yeah, that's.
I didn't know Winnell worked on that.
Yeah. Here's the next one. It looks cheap. The action sequences are rote. The dialogue is mostly generic, and their characters are all one-dimensional. Woof.
Aquaman.
No.
Aquaman 2.
No.
Action sequences.
Mm-hmm.
Is this? I don't know. Get second review. I don't.
I want you to know you're not going to get this one.
Fucking fantastic.
The superficial, seemingly lazy nature of this reboot rules it out quickly when there are so many other series coming out that offer so much. Honestly, just go watch MacGruber instead.
Oh, did he do the MacGyver?
He did episode 1
yeah.
of the MacGyver show.
I do agree. MacGruber's fucking awesome.
Yeah, go watch MacGruber instead. But in
that's wild.
Because that was like right in the middle of his the height of his powers, and he did episode 1, the pilot.
Probably
of
got
the
a
MacGyver
bag full
show.
of money to do it too.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he like produced it or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like J.J. Abrams did.
Yeah.
Which ones have I not done yet? I think I've only not done one. Okay. Great. So now, along with being spooked by claps, dolls, and nuns, I'm Tisantophobic too. Thanks for everything, James Wan. I don't know what that means.
Neither do I.
So I'm going to go to the second one. I just like the great. So now along with, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like my review of Skinamarink. You were great. Now next time I wake up in the middle of the night and all the doors and windows are gone, I'm going to be scared.
That's a good one. Any ideas of what that movie?
No, not a single fucking clue.
Wan's expert deployment of genre jolts, is no less in evidence this time around. But as he takes his time, perhaps even a bit too much of it, interweaving the Warren story with that of the Hodgsons,
So,
he crafts deep dive into dread.
Conjuring 2.
Yep. I think that is all of them. You did very, very, very
I did okay.
well.
I had to guess around quite a bit, but I got there. I got there.
But alas,
he's a wild filmmaker when you look at his career. He's quite interesting.
I mean, the fact that he has launched
careers, a lot of guys' careers,
and also like 3 or 4 of the most famous horror franchises.
Yeah.
Like Insidious, Saw, and The Conjuring.
And then has installments in a DCU project, one that made $1 billion, and then the Fast and Furious franchise, one that made $1 billion. Like, Jesus.
Like made the second best Fast and Furious movie? Like,
yeah.
Wild.
It's insane. Yeah. And I like that he just was like, yeah, why not? It sounds fun.
And like, did he make the best DCEU movie?
Maybe. Well, the Suicide Squad.
Okay. All right.
Wild question here. Just I'm curious what you'll think. What do you think his favorite movie that he ever made was? He talked about this recently. That's why I know question. This. Yeah, his favorite that he ever made.
I mean, like, my mind would go to something like The Conjuring. You know what I mean? Because like when I think of James Wan, I think of The Conjuring.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of where my mind goes. So I'm going to say that one.
It's The Conjuring 2. He was on Brett Goldstein's podcast. Films to be Buried with. Very good podcast. Very fun. But he was talking. Brett Goldstein was like, "That's my favorite thing you've ever made." He's like, "It's funny that you say that because it's of all the stuff I've made, I don't know if it's the best one, but it's my favorite."
Yeah,
he's like, I loved making it.
That's so fun.
Wild. And the funny thing, I think the first Conjuring's like better.
Really?
You know what I mean? Oh yeah, the first Conjuring's better to me. It works better. It's just kind of a fun.
Is that the general take? Or?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For the most part, like don't get me wrong, Conjuring 2, I still really enjoy.
Yeah.
I thought about having us do both.
Yeah.
But I figured there's a Conjuring 4 coming out. Maybe we'll do 2 and 3 as an episode, and then 4 comes out down the line. But the Conjuring 1, there's enough to talk about for a full thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the Conjuring 1 more. I like the setting a little more. I think the case in the second one is more interesting because the real life case is fascinating.
Yeah.
And it has 2 of the most effective scares like in movies to me.
Yeah.
But the first one is a fucking nightmare fuel movie, which I love. Anyway, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting. Recommendations?
Recommendation. I've been again watching a shit ton of horror movies.
Yeah. As you are wont to do.
As I am wont to do. But I'm going to recommend some off the beaten path stuff for the fact that this is a horror thing.
What?
I know. Anyway, I'll recommend some more James Wan stuff just to watch The Conjuring if you haven't seen it because that's our next episode. Very excited about that. Conjuring 2 also super worth watching. The first Saw super worth watching. The first Insidious super worth watching.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Aquaman's super worth watching.
Aquaman is super worth watching, man.
The movie fucking rules.
If you just want a great like
way.
colorful time, it's a good one. And Jason Momoa is genuinely really good in it. And
it is like shapes and colors land.
Yeah.
Top tier shapes and colors.
Truly. And it's got a compelling enough emotional through line that like keeps you engaged. Yeah. It's a good one. But two things I'm gonna recommend. I went and saw Saturday Night.
Uh-huh.
The Jason Reitman.
Would you go? So you on Saturday night you went and saw a movie. What was the movie?
Shit. No. There's a great tweet about that where someone's like, "One ticket to Saturday Night, please." Okay, which one?
There's a who's on first level.
Fucking great. It's the Saturday Night Live movie about the lead, the 90 minutes before the first taping of the first airing of the first Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
It's great, man.
Yeah.
Like there are parts of it where I was like, okay, where exactly are we going? What exactly is this about? But it's good. The ending is one of my favorite endings of the year so far. Like I just really hooked into it. Like there's a beat in it that hits and you're just like, shit, this is so good.
Yeah.
And I heard Jason Reitman. I'm not making that up, right?
Yeah, no, it's Ivan Reitman's his dad, so it's Jason.
Yeah, Jason. Okay, he was talking about it, and he was like, "Look, the actor, because this movie's crazy in the way it's staged. Like, you'll have a scene with 2 of your principal cast, and then 3 of your principal cast are just in the background.
Yeah,
and typically you don't do that because it's expensive to have. If they're saying a line that day or not, you're paying the principal cast the same.
Yeah.
But he was like the cast and ensemble signed up for the experience. Everyone worked every day because they're like the whole movie's that way where they're just in a room and for the entirety of a scene 4 of them are doing nothing and 1 of them is doing something.
I mean, that's Saturday Night Live.
It's Saturday Night Live. But so watching it from that perspective, I want to rewatch it from that perspective. Just it's fascinating, but the ending genuinely like had me walk out and like so romantic about SNL.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of any of that shit is true. Like I'm sure some of it wasn't. It's just a hyper heightened version. But really, I really liked it. Yeah. The other one is a movie that I haven't rewatched recently, but it's one that I need to. It's been permeating my consciousness a lot, which is the movie Your Name. I watched one of his other movies, Makoto Shinkai, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Brilliant filmmaker. Your Name is by far his best movie, but I watched another one of his earlier movies that I liked okay, but there's a great YouTube channel called The Beauty of. Have you seen this?
You've talked about it.
It's just great. It's just vibes. Like if you're ever wanting to like write something or get in a certain headspace or whatever, look up something similar on there and just watch images and music.
That's a good recommendation.
It is a fantastic page. He does not post as much as they whoever as they have, but they're really good. The ones I really recommend, RRR one, the Last of Us one is really good and vibey. The Batman one's great, but that one is amazing because it's anime cinematography, but it's gorgeous, beautiful music. So I watched that and it's made me really think about Your Name, like in a way that I want to. Honestly, maybe one of the next episodes of the podcast.
Fuck yeah.
One of my favorite movies of all time. And it feels like a movie I need in this moment.
Yeah.
And I just really love it.
Bars.
Anyway, those are my recommendations.
Mine is a thing I've recommended several times.
The Return.
The Return. Double Fine's Psych Odyssey. It is a series about the making of Psychonauts 2, a game I have not played. I have also not played the original Psychonauts, except for the first 2 minutes. I tried to play it on my Steam Deck, and I could not get it to work. So I'm going to try it again because I really want to play those games. I've said this before. I will say it again. if you want to work on a creative thing with a large budget that includes a lot of people, I feel like you should have to watch that series, because it is about, I mean, again, it takes place over the 6 years that it took to make this game, from the minute that they said, we want to make Psychonauts 2 until it was released. And then a year after, like the very last chapter of it is like a year later, where we are at, where the studio is, how they feel about the game that was released, as well as the series that got released, because the series does not paint them in the best light. It isn't like whatever Fuck Jerry, the company that behind the marketing company behind the Firefest, they had their Netflix documentary, which made them look
great,
just fine and had nothing to do with it. And then the other one came out and they were like, oh no, they were super a part of this and definitely part of the problem.
Yeah. Watching both of those back to back, by the way, is
fascinating.
Genuinely one. I highly recommend watching them back to back.
I completely agree. And this is not that, because it does not make everyone look good. Like Tim Schafer, the owner of the studio, has some moments where he does not look good. And it's like clear that everyone means well and no one is truly like bad people. It is just a misunderstanding. It is one group of people that had one way of doing things when they first started, and then all of the new younger people coming in with a very different idea of how things should work. It is a phenomenal series. And it's also a phenomenal box set.
Hey!
So this is a YouTube series. You could go watch it for free on YouTube
Give me your mic.
Oh.
I'll hold it for you so you can do some show and tell.
This is a YouTube series. This is something you can go watch free on YouTube. But in their very last episode that I described, a year later, them talking about, their experience having had watched this, they also described that they're going to be releasing a box set. And so I pay like one of 2,000 copies of this very cool box set. I don't know if they're still for sale. If they are, go buy it. It is so cool. Maybe we'll do a more specific show and tell for TikTok or something like that. But it comes with like a bunch of bonus material and stuff, and I cannot wait to dig into it because this is genuinely like one of my favorite things. Like talking about art and artists and where commerce meets art.
I'm sure we will do an episode on it when I sit down and watch it.
It's just a beast. It's 30 episodes and every episode's 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
It's like it is just a beast.
It's like watching a full episode of a network television series.
Yeah.
Plus a couple.
Yeah. But in that there are so many beautiful moments, tough moments, like things to learn, like things to to learning what to do, what not to do. It is legitimately phenomenal. I cannot recommend it enough to anyone who likes video games, who likes creativity, who is interested in working in the arts in some commercial way. I can't recommend it enough. If you just like documentary series about people doing cool things, I can't recommend it enough. So yeah, Double Fine's Psych Odyssey, specifically made by Two Player Productions, is the production house, the production company, which is a part of Double Fine. That they're the people who behind it, and they deserve all the praise in the world for creating like a really, and again, like Double Fine deserves a shout out for allowing this to be public, because there were certain things that, again, that like as a company didn't make them look great.
Love when an artist does that. Rocket Man does not paint Elton John in the best light several times, and I really like that. And shout out to movies like that where the people are still alive. Elton John was heavily involved. Right. He picked Taron Egerton to come play him.
Yes,
he was a producer.
Yeah, it's like, which I think is like in such stark contrast to a movie like Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes.
Where it's like, it makes like, I can't remember their names sitting here now, look like saints.
Yeah.
And Freddie Mercury's the drug-addled maniac.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, like that's super...
Not how that went down.
Not how that went down. Super unfair.
Walk the Line.
Yeah.
Really does not paint him in nearly as bad a light as it probably should have painted Johnny Cash.
Right.
But like...
It's like, anyways.
Like, not to say like character assassination or anything like that for these guys that are dead. It's like at a certain point they're dead. What are we going to do about it now?
Right. It's just like for something like Bohemian Rhapsody, it was like the people who were alive,
yes,
and involved looked good, and the person who's like, it's about who is dead looks not as good.
Yes,
I don't know. That's the first
completely agree. It's very weird and morally questionable.
But that's beside the point. Go watch Psych Odyssey this year.
Go watch Psych Odyssey. Go watch Your Name. Go watch fucking all of James Wan movies because they're all really good and
We're
super
doing
well
one
directed.
next week.
We're doing one next week. Get ready. Watch The Conjuring. Well, if you're scared, you'll regret it, but you won't regret it if you like movies.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that's you got so much to do, so you should go do that. Or I don't know, live your life. We gotta cut the episode.